At the Forefront Fintech Conversations. I'm Sam Belden, head of content at Forefront. With me today is Andrew Kaufman. Andrew is the founder of the Time to Give Network. Andrew, welcome to At the Forefront.
Oh, pleasure, pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Happy to have you on. A Time to Give network, for those who don't know, is a not-for-profit network with a pretty innovative model to connect financial services experts with the people who need their expertise while doing some good along the way. So I'm looking forward to talking about how that works in practice, some of the lessons that Andrew has learned in getting the network off the ground, and other aspects that go into connecting experts with the people who need them, doing some good along the way. But starting at the top, Andrew, for those unfamiliar, can you walk us through what the Time to Give network is, who uses it, what the problem it's solving, just an overview for those who might not be familiar.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thanks again for the opportunity. So, Time to Give Network, importantly, is a not-for-profit. So, despite my American accent, I'm actually based in the UK. Been here for about 16 years, and here in the UK, there is a specific structure called a community interest company. And a community interest company can't pay any dividends, so there's no investors getting rich. There's no equity. At the end of the year, we donate all excess revenue to charity. We really wanted to do something altruistic and really make a difference. So Time to Give Network, again, is a not-for-profit platform, a not-for-profit organization that, to your point, was built to bring together those who can offer expertise with those that seek expertise. Um, Given my background in the financial services industry, I spent a lot of time in sales and trading and then moved into fintech, about almost 30 years ago now. And so I've been able to leverage that community and bring that community together to basically create a platform that was inspired by Warren Buffett.
Hmm.
Warren Buffett famously for 10 years auctioned a lunch on eBay. And he raised over $50 million dollars for a charity called Glide in San Francisco. I always loved eBay because eBay allows things to realize their intrinsic value, and what's more valuable than somebody's time.
Mm.
So what I wanted to do was to take that Warren Buffett model and productize it, right? I wanted to create a platform that allowed anybody to be able to make a donation to the charity of choice of an expert in return for access to that expert. Now, it might not be a lunch, it might just be a Zoom call, or most of our meetings are in-person, face-to-face meetings. But basically, what we wanted to do was to create a means for those who seek access to those who are willing to offer that access. And to your point, much of that is based around expertise. And we have no shortage of instances where people sought expertise and people were willing to offer expertise in return for that donation. We've also seen it used for a number of other different ways, right? I come from a business development background. So for me, originally, one of the problems that I faced was how do I get in front of these people
Mhm.
in order to tell our great story? So this could be used to further business development goals. It could be used to network. It could be used for expertise. There's no shortage of reasons why people seek access and no shortage of reasons why people might be able to offer that access in return for a donation to their charity of choice. So that was the background of it. And that's really what we've built. And now we're up and running and live and facilitating valuable connections and raising a bunch of money for charity.
Fantastic. Well, Andrew, you mentioned that you come from a fintech background. I'm curious what inspired you to take your career in a different direction and launch this network that has some altruistic components.
So, yeah, to your point, I spent most of my career in capitalistic pursuits, and one of the drivers for doing this as a not-for-profit was I turned 60 not long ago, and I wanted to make a difference, and I wanted to prove that everything doesn't need to be commercial, and that this is something that we can launch. And as long as people are earning a fair salary, that we can do it in a way that doesn't necessarily need to enrich people. The other driver for doing this, as mentioned, was the fact that it was a real challenge for sometimes for me to get in front of people in my target market. And the company was spending no shortage of money in the form of salary and trade shows and all sorts of other means to allow me to get those meetings and secure those meetings. So I thought, well, why can't we do this a little differently? If we could make a donation to the charity of choice of the person that I'm looking to get in front of, it would create a great vibe for that meeting.
Mm,
We would be offering a value exchange rather than me just saying, "Hey, I'd love to tell you about our great story." Offer a value exchange. Show that you've done your research, show that you're serious about their time. And now with AI and other means of communications, people are just overwhelmed with inbound unsolicited interest in their time, and I wanted to try to create a new channel to be able to facilitate those meetings, and that was really where this idea was born.
great. I really like that point you made about creating a great vibe for the meeting. I understand, the basic exchange of, time and expertise in exchange for a charitable contribution, but you kind of build that instant rapport, I imagine, when you set up meetings through the network. Um,
Yeah, the that vibe is fantastic. One of the things that I've learned, not that it's a surprise, but one of the things that I learned was that when people are taking this meeting, those who are offering their time, the 2 personas are time bidders and time givers in this
mhm.
model. When time givers are offering their time and they're raising money for charity, even if it's just a couple of £100 of a donation, they're really stuck in. They're really attentive. They are more often than not referring internally, referring external, and really giving this the thought because, again, someone has shown that they're trying to do something differently. They're doing it with intent, and they're offering that person the opportunity not only to offer their expertise and their insight, but also to raise money for a charity that's near and dear to their heart. So that combination has created a dynamic that has made the ROI on that charitable donation even more compelling because of the forthcomingness of those who are offering their time.
You mentioned time givers and time bidders. Can you walk us through in a little bit more detail what a typical transaction on the network looks like from the that initial connection to how the charities ultimately get involved?
Absolutely. Well, I'll even start at the beginning. So basically, a time giver signs up to the platform. It's completely free for a time giver, right? They need to create a profile, not dissimilar to LinkedIn. We've built in some AI tools to help them build that profile super quick.
Mhm.
Then they need to create an offer. Think about an offer like an eBay listing. While we can do auctions, most of our transactions are in the buy it now model. So a time giver would register, create a profile, create an offer. That offer would indicate which charity he's chosen, right? We have an API connection to Just Giving. So here in the UK, there's 27,000 charities that they can choose from. We're launching in the US in Q1. That'll add 1.4 million charities that the time givers will be able to choose from. They also choose the duration of the meeting. It could be a half hour, could be an hour, could be longer. They choose whether it's in person or via Zoom. They control everything. Once they create that offer, time bidders, again, similar to eBay, will have saved searches. So they'll be looking for certain keywords,
Mm.
or they'll be certain looking for certain metadata tags associated with the profile. And because they want to see, let's say, the COO of a hedge fund, right? If the COO of a hedge fund creates an offer, I want to be alerted as a time bidder. So the time bidder sets up their saved searches. When a time giver creates an offer, I'm alerted the next day at 9 o'clock in the morning as to any time givers that have created new offers that fit my profile or my ideal target. I then, as a time bidder, log into the platform, look and see who that person is, take a look at their LinkedIn profile, take a look at what their price point is and what charity they're choosing. And if I believe that there's a compelling ROI on trying to meet that person, we then take the next step. Now, as opposed to the Warren Buffett model, where anybody who won that auction would be able to meet with Warren, we're dealing within the financial services space, right? There's a lot of compliance issues. There's a lot of personal preferences as well as far as who people are want to meet or are willing to meet or are able to meet. So if I want to meet with one of those time givers, I need to send an indication of interest via the platform saying, this is why I want to meet. This is my background. And the time giver then gets an alert, sees that I'm interested in taking a meeting, sees my note, and then can say, hey, you know what? I have a compliance issue or I don't want to waste your time. Thanks, but no thanks. But if they say yes in this double opt in model, then and only then can I make a donation via Just Giving again to their charity of choice. Once that donation is made, I, as a time bidder, then get that time giver's contact details, and the time giver gets my contact details and confirmation that the donation has been made. And then I can set an agenda or ask some questions in advance or set the logistics of that meeting and the time and the place. And then the time giver and the time bidder take it on their way. We're just a broker looking to bring together individuals, not involved at all in the money transfer, the donation transfer, and then once they have set up that meeting and take that meeting, it's up to them as to where, if anywhere, that goes.
Fantastic. Sounds straightforward and, certainly some parallels maybe to your past life in fintech, connecting people through easy to use platforms, straightforward process. So that's great. Can you talk a little bit about some of the charitable impact that you've made to date? Maybe any of the charities that have benefited, or curious if there are any ways that charities sort of benefit beyond the revenue from an individual meeting. Tell us a little bit about the charitable impact.
Sure. So again, any charity on the Just Giving network, which is free for them to join, is eligible automatically. We have an arm's length relationships with with all of the charities, although we have a number of conversations with charities who are looking to see how they can maximize this. For the charities, it's just a new and free revenue stream for them because we don't charge the charities anything. We've raised money for dozens of charities already, everything from Alzheimer's to mental health charities, which seems to be very popular in the financial services space. Given the nature of that, after living through the financial services space, but we've raised money for dozens of charities and we're happy to work with them because these charities have no shortage of in demand supporters, whether they're patrons or trustees or volunteers or just general supporters. So these charities are now have a new means to engage with these people, many of whom say, hey, other than reaching into my pocket, how can we help? Well, here's a great way to engage in skills based fundraising. Super easy. You don't have to leave the office. You're sharing your expertise. It's all everything is under your control. So we've had some very good success working with charities that want to do more and be a bit more proactive. Um, so and obviously from an impact perspective, we have so I've had conversations with some of our time givers who also get involved in time-based volunteerism where they'll go and take the day off and paint a wall. And
Right.
no disrespect to wall painters, but if you took that 8-hour day and broke that into 8 1-hour meetings, you'll raise four figures for that charity no matter who you are, and they don't have to organize the outing. And so this is just another means for them to actually find some new money in a time where, whether it's government subsidies or just people not reaching as deep into their pockets as they might have been previously, it just gives them a new means to achieve their mission.
Fantastic. And so this is a pretty innovative model, not one that I've encountered, at least when it comes to the kinds of connections that you're making for the charitable causes. Anything that you've learned maybe since founding the network that surprised you, and any unexpected behaviors that you maybe weren't anticipating when you got this off the ground? Tell us a little bit about what maybe has been unexpected in this journey.
So we've had a lot of success with time givers, right? Time givers are, once they understand the story, and to your point, sometimes I wish I was just selling a widget and I would be able to say, hey, it's a widget and it does it better, right? This is,
Right.
creating something brand new is always a challenge, right? And maybe that was a surprise, right? How long it takes to convey the story and get people to understand what it is, unwind preconceived notions and things like that. So that's been a little bit more challenging, but thanks to you and others who've been allowed who've enabled me to share the story. Right now, we're really picking up a lot of momentum. We now have over 300 executives as part of the platform,
Wow.
which
Nice.
is great. Um, Time bidders, I've been very pleasantly surprised at the feedback that they've given because again, I didn't know what that outcome would be, but it's really lived up to its potential where those meetings have been super impactful and they've been able to result in new opportunities or further introductions that have been especially helpful. One of the things that I was surprised about, because again, we based this on Warren Buffett and offering access in return for a meeting, but some of our time bidders have come up with some new and innovative ways to use the platform. Right? We have one time bidder who was hosting a dinner, and they really wanted somebody from a particular firm to attend that dinner. They ended up making a donation to that executive's charity of
Oh,
choice
interesting. Oh,
for participating in a dinner. We're working with a conference organizer who's happy to offer donations to speakers.
hmm.
We have one time bidder firm that spent a lot of time and energy creating a white paper, like a research report, and they used the platform to encourage influencers to read the report and repost it on LinkedIn with some kind words to say.
Wow.
So in that case, there was not even a meeting. So in that case, it was actually just turning charitable donations into a different form of compensation or making people whole or creating a value exchange over and above the conventional model. So it's taking a bit of a life of its own as it relates to that. And actually, when we talk about the future plans, I've now taken that idea and we now have a future enhancement that should be able to accommodate that model and other models even more easily.
That is really interesting. When you describe sort of the basic use case, I didn't even think about the potential, event planning, event marketing implications, and I might even have to look on the platform for my next podcast guest. Who knows, right? So,
Yeah, we even have a scenario where someone, again, the conventional networking model, one of the big ones is conferences.
mhm,
And a lot of these institutions spend a lot of money on these conferences, and a lot of those conferences are free for attendees who are maybe they're buy side attendees
right.
if it's an asset management conference. Those who don't pay to go, they often don't turn up, which is obviously quite frustrating for those who spend five figures to be a conference sponsor. So we now have one firm that is a sponsor at a conference, and they're doing outreach to conference attendees and saying, "Hey, we're going to be there. I know you're scheduled to be there. We'd be happy to make a donation to your charity of choice if we could just get an hour during lunch or a half hour on the side, maybe at drinks, just to come over and have a proper chat rather than hoping that that person walks by their booth and they grab them for some 5-minute conversation that isn't really going to go anywhere, which is also good for the organizers because now the organizers are happy to know that their attendees have to turn up because they've taken a charitable donation, and so everybody wins in that model as well. So
Makes total sense. And so as you look at the future, you mentioned that you're seeing some great momentum on the network. What do the next 3 to 5 years look like for you guys? Any big strategic goals that you're willing to share with us?
absolutely, absolutely. As mentioned, we've been UK focused now. We've been UK financial services focused now just because I'm here and this is where my network is. But I still have a network in the US, and the US is where I think this thing hockey sticks, right? Because whether it's Warren Buffett or Bill Ackman or Ray Dalio, there's all of these individuals have historically auctioned themselves off or made themselves available for charity. I think this model is a very American model, judging from my history in America and Americans' attitudes towards philanthropy, Americans' attitude towards just doing what you need to do in order to get in front of these people and appreciating a compelling ROI. So America is the next step, and that we're due to launch that in Q1. Beyond that, the beauty of this model is that it's universal. It works just as well in Swiss pharmaceuticals as it does in Saudi oil and gas, right? As long as we have the link to a network that can facilitate the charitable donations, this model can go global, right? And it's not only necessarily just about busy executives. It could be, you know, Taylor Swift, right? I would love my dream is to get Taylor Swift to offer a half-hour Zoom call to some Swiftie, and maybe that Swiftie's billionaire father is more than happy to make a 100,000 pound donation to Taylor's charity of choice in return for access, right? So it's really not just about in-demand executives, it's about anybody who is in demand. Um, we also now see, because this is an interesting, another surprise, time givers sometimes they might not have a natural market, or the time bidders that we have might not necessarily be interested in that particular time giver. Time givers know who seeks their time, right? They're recipients of no shortage of unsolicited interest in their time.
Mm.
We now have time givers who are going back to those individuals that they might not necessarily have the time for, and they would typically ignore that query, but they're going back to them and saying, "Hey, I am super busy, but I do make myself available for an hour a month on the Time to Give network. So if you want to meet with me, go over there." So rather than ignoring those queries, giving these people a chance, and whoever's serious and is willing to donate whatever that donation amount is in order to get that access, everybody wins, right? Those who are seeking that access. The other important part of the model, just that I wanted to highlight, is from a time bidder perspective, right? When a time bidder signs up to the platform, and our commercial model is it's 150 pounds for an annual seat license, right? Again, going to a not for profit. But when a time bidder signs up, we might not have people that they want to meet. We want to make sure that we make the platform target rich for them. So what we do is we ask them for a list of all the individuals that they'd like to meet. And
Mm.
then we proactively will go to those individuals and say, "Hey, a member of our community has indicated they're happy to make an X £100 or X $100 donation to your charity of choice. If you could take 5 minutes and sign up." And make it target rich for them. Therefore, time givers bringing in time bidders, and time bidders bringing in time givers. And that's how this network then propagates. And, that's how we are able to grow globally and keep our overhead low, because, we want to, at the end of the year, donate as much of our excess revenue to charity as possible.
Right. Yeah, no, seems like a very natural organic growth model, and as you said, it's in, finance today, but it's, location agnostic, it's industry agnostic, so, heard it here first, I guess. Today finance, tomorrow Taylor Swift, right? So,
Exactly, exactly.
awesome. Well, Andrew, I wish you the best of luck in continuing to build the Time to Give network. Like I said, innovative model, doing some good along the way and creating real value, it seems like, for everyone who's on the platform. So we're looking forward to hearing about the US launch next year and all the other updates that may come. Um,
Wonderful. Thanks for the opportunity to amplify the message. And yeah, look forward to coming to the US, where this thing should really be a super exciting model.
Fantastic. So for all of our viewers, if you'd like to learn more about what Andrew has built at Time to Give Network, you could head over to timetogive.network. Or for a full archive of At the Forefront episodes like this one, you could head over to forefrontcoms.com, head over to the news and insights section for a full episode archive. So once again, Andrew Kaufman, Time to Give Network. Andrew, thanks again for your insights today. Great conversation, and looking forward to seeing you again.
Thank you, Sam.